Welcome to the Trust Factor Radio, bringing you interviews and insights to unlock the power of the subconscious mind to create authority, credibility, and trust. With your host, the Authority Architect, and best-selling author, Neil Howe.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is your host, Neil Howe, and today my special guest is Ashley Velez. Now, she is the co-owner of a digital marketing agency tailored to small business owners, aimed at helping them with their digital marketing efforts. But she is also deeply passionate about building communities and creating a thriving company culture, because culture and marketing go hand in hand. And that is what we are going to talk about today. So Ashley Velez, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Neil. I'm excited to be here.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you got into marketing, and why you have a passion for this company culture right now.
Well, I did not start out in the marketing field. I have a degree in English literature. I thought I wanted to teach or write when I got out of school, but I actually started as an admin for a commercial real estate firm. In 2009, much like everyone else, when the market crashed, I was blindsided and let go, and spent the next 2 or 3 years trying to figure out where I fit, until I met James Ball, my now partner at Atlanta SEO Pro. And at the time I was enrolled in, I was slated to start grad school for teaching again. And he said, I'm starting up this digital marketing agency, TrustWorks. It's really small, but you have everything that I'm looking for, and I want to hire you. And that was about 6 months when he said that to when he was actually able to bring me on. I started there in January of 2012 as the fourth hire, and it was my first full-time job in almost 3 years. And he taught me just about everything that I know about digital marketing. And as we grew the company, I kind of fell into a middle management role that we didn't even know that we needed. Mm-hmm. So it was up to me to handle the training and the hiring for a lot of the marketing specialists that we were hiring on. And it really was just some of the best years for me. And it really opened me up to discovering that I love being a hero for small business. I loved the people that we worked with. And we built an amazing, hardworking, empathetic team. And those were some of my best years. And James and I both left in 2014 for various reasons. And I tried to work for a couple of different companies, figuring out where I fit. I was working for a medical device company that really enlightened me to being fulfilled by work that has meaning. And while there, I also was really pulled to corporate culture, creating a positive company culture. And then I was at a software development company, which really just furthered my need to work on building strategies for building culture. Came back to a healthcare marketing position. And then ultimately, last year, James reached out to me and said, I'm going to build another marketing agency. And I'm not going to do it without you. So with a proposition like that, I started part-time, at first. And then last summer I jumped. And so ever since we are building it from the ground up. And we have 3 account managers right now. And so it's very, very important to me that starting so small, that we hire slowly. We figure out the good fits, both for performance and culturally. And so I really just want to build something that people don't want to leave, really. I know they will, but the goal is to train them and edify them and empower them so that they could leave, but they don't want to.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned, just being a good fit there a couple of times, and obviously you and James Ball with Atlanta SEO Pro are a great fit for each other. But you've really kind of fallen in. And I talk to so many people, and they just say, "Yeah, well, I was doing this, but I fell into this and found that this is something that I really love." So you really love developing that company culture within different organizations. First of all, why is that so important?
I think it's especially important to me because I have worked for companies in between TrustWorks and Atlanta SEO Pro. I saw things that could be improved, and so as a natural problem solver, I sought out the right people to try and help wherever I could. I was working for a company called CryoLife, and I was very involved in our human resources department. I teamed up with a couple of the people there, and I was working on strategies with them to help engage and champion the team. And we had over 600 employees at that time. It's probably more now, but I loved working on things like that. And like I said, I kept finding myself wanting to work on building a culture, figuring out what employees wanted, what they really wanted, and what kept them there, what motivated them to do a great job, and to keep wanting to come back and do that great job every single day. So,
so what are companies looking for? What are employees looking for in order to have that positive work environment? And ultimately, I think when people are positive and happy, they're going to get a lot more done.
Yes, I agree. I think that leadership is important. The way that leadership communicates and interacts with employees, what they communicate, what their vision is, how they celebrate and recognize their employees. This ties into management, workplace practices and policies, communications within an organization. And then I would say most importantly is the mission, the vision, and the values. These are a huge piece to corporate culture. They reflect the beliefs, the philosophies, and how inspiring these pieces are to your employees. Is I believe what will keep them there, keep them engaged, keep them coming back day after day, excited about doing their work.
So that is extremely important, and things really seem to be moving to that vision and mission and cause-based also marketing. But before we get into that, Ashley, I want to talk about the actual workforce now. And I see in your notes here that by 2020, you say almost half of the work pool will be millennials. How is that how is that affecting how things are done with company culture?
I think millennials are changing that quite a bit, especially companies who want to target millennial talent, because again, by 2020 they won't have much choice. But I think it's in their best interest, and it's in a company's best interest to target the talent that's going to make up the most of the talent pool, because it ultimately increases their revenue. And what company doesn't want to increase their revenue? So they need to understand how much they could potentially lose with poor HR, onboarding, and people operations. And I still believe that it's not too late for many companies to make the steps to move in the right direction and make it right, as more and more millennials come out of not necessarily the graduating from high school, because I think college, excuse me. I myself am one of make up part of this group of people, and I don't feel like there's lots of things that we want to do going forward. I think everyone wants to be connected to their work. It's not just a trait for the millennial workforce. So.
Mm-hmm. So what is it that the millennial workforce are looking for that's different to what things have been over the last generation?
I think a lot of millennials, I mean, speaking from personal experience, I think greater autonomy, work-life balance, being trusted to work from home. There's still so many companies that get scared to have employees work from home. But it's really just about accountability. If you have technology in place, if you have, expectations set in place, I don't think that there's any reason why employees can't work from home, at least part-time, a couple of days a week. I think also work-life balance has changed completely, because it's not a balance. I mean, you can pick up your phone and answer email in the middle of the night or in the morning when you wake up. Work-life balance has kind of turned into more of a work-life harmony. And it's next to impossible, I think, moving forward to now to really shut your laptop and stop working at 5 o'clock. I don't know anybody that does that, millennial or otherwise. And so really just taking steps to help employees do their job better and to help them be better outside of their work as well. Mm-hmm. Because when they're mentally in a good place, when they're physically in a good place, like employee wellness programs, employee assistance, mental health assistance programs, all of these things are pieces and parts to make sure that employees are happy and engaged and ultimately doing what's best for the company.
Mm. And technology has certainly made that shift possible. Being in Atlanta, I think we have the worst traffic in the country. So, trying to deal with that every day doesn't make you a very good worker when you eventually get to your job after sitting for an hour and a half in traffic, does it? No.
And that's part of the reason that I especially love working out of my house.
Definitely. So talk to me about more of the vision and the mission and the cause-based companies. Why is that now so important?
I really think that it's people want to be challenged, and they appreciate the opportunity to rise above, prove their value within an organization, and the mission and values and core mission and values really plays into that, because when people are given the opportunity to prove their value, I believe that employees feel valued and appreciated, and it creates this culture of organizational well-being. So really, truly, if your employees are, if they are engaged with your mission, then ideally it just moves the corporation forward as a whole. I think that people are all inherently the same when it comes to work. They want to be a part of something meaningful. I don't think that is something that is a millennial mindset alone. They're not the only generation who wants to identify with their work. They want growth and education, and they don't want to become stagnant. So I think, again, the mission and the values are really this, arguably the most important piece. And, tying it all in is incorporating the positive changes within an organization.
And it really is important. You look at companies like TOMS shoes, which are the most notable probably for doing this. You buy one pair of shoes and they're giving a pair away to somebody in another country that really needs them. People are willing to pay extra in order to know that they're doing a little bit of good as well. So there definitely seems to be a shift to that kind of message in the marketing.
Right, absolutely. And or even other companies, MailChimp obviously is a huge one here in Atlanta. They are known for having one of the best corporate cultures here in Atlanta, and I think that it's a lot of it is because they have a dedicated team that's separate completely from human resources. They have, I've read up on them extensively. They have what's called a Chimpanion. So your first week, when you start there, they you have a person that follows you around that first week. That first week, you don't do any work. It's just onboarding, and they've certainly seem to have a lot of things figured out because, people come to MailChimp when they come to MailChimp, is from what I understand from hearing from the tech community, they don't leave. They feel part of a work family, and that's what I want. That's my goal for Atlanta SEO Pro ultimately, to have to build this work family. And for everyone to feel like they can share ideas, that they can grow, and ultimately, if they decide to leave, we're not scared to have them leave. We want them to go off, do their own thing. We encourage it, and I think that's the best way to build leaders.
Really, you want each individual within the company to be empowered. To be able to do what their strengths are, I think. But, talking about a great company culture, what kind of things does a company like MailChimp do, that department that you were talking about, to, make people feel at ease and feel at home and in a family at their work?
Well, like I said, I think that onboarding is certainly a huge part of that. Also,
do they have like events or getaways, or just spending time together out of the office? Are these things important?
Yes, those are all important. They also have, I think, another key thing that they do that is exceptional and sets them apart from other companies is they bring speakers in to talk to the employees there. So they invest in their employees, which is something that a lot of companies are still trying to figure out. They're still trying to get that part right. So investing in the education, the empowerment of their employees is, I think, a huge part. And also, I believe they do have they have a complete separate training as well, in terms of, if you want to learn how to do another key piece that isn't part of your regular day-to-day job. You can take courses, you can take online classes. So again, just investing in their employees as people to help them be a better part of the organization is key.
And what percentage do you think of companies right now have really embraced this? Are we talking, 5% maybe, and the others are lagging, or where do you see it right now if you were to guess?
I would say it's definitely on the shorter end. I do think that there's a lot more. There's a trend toward this a lot more in terms of startups, the startup world, and software. But there's lots of bigger companies still have a long way to go, and I get that because they're much larger. But there's definitely, I'm not a numbers gal, so I don't want to guess in terms of a percentage, but I would imagine that it's not as high as it should be. Let's just
right. And why, is there just, some bigger, larger companies just set in their ways and not willing to change, or is it that they're finding it difficult to change?
I think it's a little of both. I would imagine that it is difficult to change, especially with companies where you still have employees who have worked there for a long, long time. They the status quo has always been, and there's just not anyone coming in to shake things up. And if somebody does try to come in and shake things up, then nothing ends up actually going through. So I think it's, like you said, it's a little bit of both. There may be some fear. I think a lot of reasons that they haven't embraced, a lot of companies haven't embraced more positive cultures is maybe leadership fears, loss of control, monetary losses, or other losses. And I think a lot of times it's easier to lead with fear, not necessarily that it's a good thing, but a culture of fear is neither healthy nor sustainable. And so because in a fear-based environment, people do limited work, they're not fully engaged. There's often a high turnover rate because people look for other jobs and ultimately leave. Or employees are more likely to speak negatively about the company or brand behind closed doors. And so, as I have worked in past organizations and also done a lot of my own research online, there's a lot of evidence to show that over time a toxic work situation can cause healthy people to become cynical and disengaged, and even lead to them being unhealthy, chronically being sick, having headaches. It really does. It can take a toll if you're coming into a toxic work environment that isn't supportive of you, or where you don't feel like you have a voice. So again, it's part of the reason that I have become fiercely passionate about both growing our own organization so that we are that we have a positive company culture, and then also sharing this information so that other companies can benefit. I do believe that it's not too late for many of them to make simple changes that don't cost a lot of money. There are changes that you can make that are free. Adding something as small as a comment box, making and then saying that we're going to implement, a new suggestion once a month, and it can be anonymous and, something like that. Or doing partnering up with a company like Gallup and doing a Gallup poll to see, anonymously, again, where everybody is, kind of put those feelers out, see how everybody is feeling about their work and about their management, their teams. And then, by doing that, I believe that it shows that you are taking an interest in them. And even that in and of itself can increase engagement and ultimately make people happier at work.
Yeah, and without throwing stats out myself, I know that the percentage of people in the workforce that are just completely disengaged from what they're doing is extremely high. It's around that 50% mark, to where it really means you got 50% of your workforce that aren't really doing anything. They're not doing a good job. And what's the cost of that?
Right, absolutely. I mean, it could be, if you're working for a larger company with a couple hundred employees, that's some serious money.
Yeah, definitely. They're sitting playing, video games and on Facebook and social media and not really getting any work done.
Right.
Yeah. And I think, something else I read recently was the country of Finland, who have the highest test scores in the world. They give 15 minutes of recreation and free time for every 45 minutes of work that they do for their kids at schools. And I think, that goes along the same in business as well, to where people definitely need a break from trying to concentrate for so long.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that just over time, again, because of technology, because we're all so plugged in all the time, it's easy to not take breaks. I am very, very bad about it myself. So I'll just throw myself right under that bus, because I have to set myself reminders. Ashley, it's 1:00, go eat. Get up, stretch. But it is so easy, especially when you can, like I said, answer email as early as 6:30 in the morning when you wake up, or as late as 10 p.m. at night. So I think just being mindful of when your employees are active and doing work, and encouraging them, hey, take a break, go take a walk, take 5 minutes to yourself, and then come back and tackle something. That says a lot, and can do a lot, really.
Yeah, just being able to clear the mind for a minute and, get back to focus, which in this day and age is extremely difficult for many people. Ashley, this has been some great conversation. I want to touch on a couple of things before we go. There's innovation is one of the words that's passed around the business community a lot now, and we've seen companies like Airbnb, come in and completely change the hotel industry, and Uber coming in and changing the taxi industry. How important do you think innovation is going to be in the future?
I think very, very important. Really injecting creativity and increasing dialogue with your employees. All of that, I think, is connected to innovation. And I think creating a culture of innovation within an organization, it starts with their leadership. So, if leadership is open to these new ideas of innovation, whether they're systems, processes, going completely in another direction in terms of brand or what your offerings are, I think, the innovation is it's inevitable. Mm-hmm. In just about every organization and every industry. So,
and then we've got to think about things like artificial intelligence as well, and it really coming in and taking over some of these simple tasks that people are doing. So people, just for themselves, are going to have to innovate and learn some new skills. So, I imagine things like you said with MailChimp, offering, different skills just to better yourself are going to give people a lot more prospects moving forward.
Right. I mean, if companies and individuals don't pivot as technology continues to change, then they stand to lose a lot, I believe.
Well, Ashley, this has been a fascinating talk, a great look into company culture. If people want to reach out to you to get connected, to further this conversation, or to see how they might implement some of these things in their company, what is a good way for them to be able to do that?
They can email me at Ashley@Atlanta SEO.pro. I am also online on Twitter and Instagram. My handle is Ashley Graceless. So you can Google me, and I should come up just about everywhere, hopefully.
Excellent, Ashley. Well, Ashley Velez from Atlanta SEO Pro, thank you very much for being my guest on the Trust Factor Radio today.
Thank you so much, Neil. It was my pleasure.
And to our listening audience, if you like what you hear, hit that like button and share, and we'll see you next time on the show.
You've been listening to the Trust Factor Radio with Neil Howe. To learn about the resources mentioned in the show and to listen to past episodes, go to thetrustfactorradio.com. To get a copy of the book, The Trust Factor, go to thetrustfactorbook.com. If you are ready to act now and build your authority, credibility, and trust, schedule a consultation with Neil at theauthorityarchitect.com.